Brought to you by Penguin.
Come Back for Me by Heidi Perks. Read by Sally Scott and Nathalie Buscombe. Evergreen Island, 9th of September 1993. We left in a storm. The sea was rising in sharp clumps of angry waves, rain hitting my feet like bullets. Dad must have known we shouldn't be making the crossing to the mainland, yet he stood on the boat, one hand frantically flapping for one of us to reach out and take it. The hood of his red mac had whipped off his head, the rain plastering his hair to his scalp. He yelled over the wind for us to get in, but we wouldn't move from the end of the jetty. The boat rocked violently as it tugged at the rope that kept it tethered to the dock, and I noticed Dad's other hand gripping tighter to the steel railing of the steps. "Get in, Stella!" he shouted. Thunder cracked overhead, and the sky lit up with magnificent streaks of light. Behind me, our house flashed bright between the silhouettes of our tall pines, making it look like something from a horror film. I pushed my hands deeper inside my raincoat, clutching grey bear harder to my chest. I didn't want to leave the only home I had ever known, but I'd never seen my dad so determined. His jaw was set, his teeth bared. It wasn't like him to be so persistent, so unrelenting, and I found myself shrinking further back. "I'm not going anywhere," Bonnie screamed from beside me. "We'll all die if we do." My sister held her hood tightly against her head, but I could just make out the paleness of her face in the moonlight. Bonnie had yearned to leave the island for years, but this wasn't the way she wanted to go. "We will not die, and we need to go," Dad yelled back. He turned to me and added more softly, "I promise you, it's fine. We'll be safe." Dad owned the small ferry that he was demanding we board, and he'd run the 30-minute crossing between Evergreen and Poole Harbour every day for the last 16 years. If anyone could take us to the mainland safely, it was him. But we'd never dared attempting a crossing in weather like this before. Mum wouldn't usually let us out of the house when it was this bad. "Why can't we wait till morning?" Bonnie was begging. I stared at the water, its white foam bubbling and spitting in rage. "Because," Dad shouted. "God, will you both just get in?" He flapped his hand again, his gaze drifting over my shoulder to where Mum was coming down the jetty. Her head was low, arms tucked inside a plastic poncho as she trailed a suitcase behind her. "Where's Danny?" Dad yelled, as another flash of lightning lit up the sky, making both Bonnie and me jump. I counted too quickly, only reaching 2 before thunder roared overhead. The storm was creeping closer. My brother trailed behind Mum, shrouded in a shapeless black coat that hung over his bulky body, reaching the ground. Bonnie started shouting again, gesturing at the sea as it rose and dipped, higher and lower than I'd ever seen it go. Another loud crack filled the air, and I yelped as a branch from one of the pines fell to the ground beside me. I jumped out of its way as the wind carelessly tossed it along the jetty. For a brief moment, Dad stopped yelling and stared at the branch. My tears were already bleeding into the rainwater that soaked my face, but my heart twisted every time I thought of leaving my beloved island. All I wished was for Dad to realize that whatever we were doing, it wasn't worth it. "I do think we should wait, David." Mum's voice was high-pitched, her eyes wide as she looked from him to the water. "It wouldn't hurt to stay another night. We could leave first thing." We held a collective breath as Dad took his eyes off the broken tree and glared back at her. "No, Maria. We go now." "I don't understand," I said. Dad was the easygoing parent, the one who allowed another half-hour of play or a chocolate digestive even if we'd just brushed our teeth. "Mum?" I cried.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?